I remember the day so well. It was February 2003. I know that because I was sitting in a brand new van, Honda Odyssey, that we had paid cash for. I was parked in an empty parking lot in an empty state park. My my wife thought I was at work. Everybody at work thought I was out trying to sell something. And I spent the entire day by myself in that van, miserable and in tears. I had no reason to be miserable. As I said, I just paid cash for the van I was in. Recently moved into a home that I and my wife had built, making a decent living as a partner in a small business. I was married to a drop dead gorgeous blonde I'd fallen hopelessly in love with when she was 16, and we had three wonderful children between the ages of 12 and 2. But there I was in tears, and I knew my wife was going to be wondering where I was soon. Well, I pulled myself together, went home, and acted as if nothing was wrong till everyone went to bed. Then I sat alone in the dark in that living room trying to figure it all out. And I had known Jesus for years. I had fought depression most of those years. I was praying. I was scared. I was alone, but I was with God. I was a mess and something had to change. And in that moment, God opened my eyes just a little. And somehow he gave me a little bit of hope and inspiration and direction. My employees deserved a better boss than I was. My business partners deserved a better partner than I was. And my children, they deserved a better example of how to live than I was giving them. And my wife, she deserved a much better husband than I was. Now, today, I believe there's not a single person on the face of the earth who's had a better life than me. Not one. And that story is the start of the change in me and in my business that I was running at the time. And that change wasn't small, it was tremendous. And we believe that this change is what God wants for all of us. He wants to change us and give us hope. And that's what we hope our process and this system can do for you or your organization. God intends us to live passionate, eternally fulfilling adventures, not just as individuals, but our organizations, they have lives too. Organizations are just groups of people, and that life is also meant to be an adventure. So, what makes our life a passionate, fulfilling adventure? A man named Lauren Vanderpost. He studied the Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, and he tells us that in the Bushmen, in the Kalahari, they talk about the two hungers. There's a great hunger and the little hunger. The little hunger, it wants for food to fill your belly, but the great hunger, and it is the greatest of all hungers, is the hunger for meaning. There's ultimately only one thing that makes humans really bitter and miserable and for the rest of their life, and that is to have thrust upon them a life without meaning. There's nothing wrong with trying to be happy, but it's a far greater comfort and far greater happiness is to have meaning because meaning transfigures everything else. Once you're doing what you're meant to do, it is irrelevant whether you're happy or unhappy. You are content. You are not alone in your spirit. You belong. That is what gives our lives meaning and purpose. It is being motivated by something more important than ourselves. And that night, God gave me a change of direction and focus. When I was in the van sobbing and miserable, I was trying to figure out how to make my life better. It's not that I didn't care about my family, my employees, my business partners, but I was focused on me. And in that moment in the darkness in my living room, when I didn't think it could get any worse, God inspired me to stop living for myself and start living for others. And that change gave me and the business I was running a purpose. Now, since then, 20 years have passed. My life has been a wonderful adventure. My businesses, they're wonderful. They're living an adventure too. They're wonderful places to work. They're much more profitable, and they're impacting the community around me. And that is why you should follow this process and use this system.